brilliant coaching session using a new tool that I was reading about yesterday, and I just wanted to share it because I thought it might be really useful for people. So it's basically an exercise where you look at your triggers that happen when you basically lose it and you can't get back to yourself and your reasonable self. And I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and it just worked so well with my client that I wanted to share it. So basically, you identify a time that you're triggered, and you look at that trigger. So you have to try and be as objective as possible. So not how did you feel in the moment, but what did actually happen. So it might be that your partner came up to you and said, "I don't like the way that you put your stuff on the couch when I've just cleaned up," and all of a sudden you feel triggered because you feel defensive and you don't want. It's not, you're feeling really upset, but then you follow that trigger. So the first thing might be, "Screw you, I don't care about your couch." This is your like initial feeling, and then it kind of descends down, down, down. So then you look at, now I feel guilty because I haven't put the stuff away. That guilt makes me feel like I'm completely a mess and I can never keep everything tidy. And then at the bottom of it, it's, when I was a child, I was always told off for having a messy room, and I always felt like I wasn't accepted as part of the family because I couldn't keep my stuff tidy, and therefore I'm going to get kicked out of my family and die because I can't keep my stuff tidy. So it sounds ridiculous because you kind of get down to this really like life or death situation, but that's why we get triggered. The trigger is really a fight or flight mechanism that we developed back when we were being hunted by saber-toothed tigers, and it means that our body gets completely flooded. It basically completely bypasses all of our logical brain. It goes to our amygdala. Our amygdala is the one that sets off our fight or flight responses, and that amygdala basically makes us realize that if we don't fight or flight or freeze or have a response that is going to protect us, then we're going to die, which is completely useless in a moment when somebody's just told us off for putting something, messing up a room. But that's how we kind of respond. So we went down, we did the elevator exercise, and then the idea is that when you look at that first response, which is, "Oh, I'm really messy and I don't like this about myself," you basically, I'm in Thailand at the moment, so somebody's just going past in a van. Let that go past. So, so basically, we go to being able to stop yourself right in that moment. What's happening? Not just our response, "I feel messy," but also feel messy. Maybe a little bit of like the chest gets tight because you're starting to feel like you're that response in you, or maybe your shoulders, they get lifted up, or maybe you can't breathe so well, or there's some bodily response, you feel it somewhere in your body, or your stomach maybe goes, work out what it is the response that you're having. And so that when you first initially feel that response, you're able to take a pause. But what was really brilliant about this session was that my client just recognized that her response, she couldn't find a kind response in order to kind of stop that from happening. All of her responses were very about her needs and her trigger. Like, she was responding to her core wound. So in this example, core wound of that I'm messy and therefore I'm not accepted by the family, might mean that my response is going to be, "I can't do that. I'm just messy and there's nothing I can do about it," which is meeting your need, not their person's need. But we flipped it around and we're like, what could we say that's kind and genuine as well? And so in this response, you'd say, "I know it upsets you that I mess up the area. I'm not doing it because I don't want to. I need some help with this." And then you're kind of flipping that round to saying, I see you, I understand your issue here. And I can't do it on my own, and I need some help, or I need some time, or I need, but basically putting your need second and their need first. And so getting into that habit of using a phrase will give you time and space from that response, but also meet the need of the person who's also been triggered because of what you've done. And so instead of re-triggering them by not recognizing their needs, you're actually calming them in your response and calming yourself. Because the idea is to go away, calm yourself, help go through all the things that are going to help that core wound be calmed. So, you know, actually I can be tidy, it's just in certain areas I'm not tidy, and, you know, but I'm not completely, you know, failing. Nobody's going to kick me out of the house. Actually, we can work this out. But that still is quite difficult, because if you haven't been able to, um, in that moment, respond kindly, then you're still feeling like you haven't managed to move yourself on. And so actually it gives you both time and space, but it also already starts the soothing process, and it soothes the other person, so that when you actually come to look at what you're going to do about it, they're more open to actually helping you out with that. Um, and yeah, just feels more genuine, more authentic, immediately soothes all that part of you that kind of goes into that fight or flight response, and it soothes their fight or flight response as well. So they become much more open to actually helping and being part of the solution, rather than, you know, it kind of escalating. So that was my takeaway. I hope that might be helpful. So just to recap on what you can do if you want to try this, is take an example of the time that you're triggered. Look at what actually happened. What were the words that were spoken? What what actually happened in your body? Then look at what the initial response is, and then go all the way down the escalator, all the different places that can take you until you get to a very, very old core wound, which is like when you were a child, how did it make you feel when this happened to you? And what was the danger that it made you feel? And then look at how can you respond with kind words that will meet their needs and your needs to soothe yourself. And then give yourself time to come back to it and then be able to address it. And that way you'll prevent yourself going all the way down the elevator, they call it, like the trigger elevator, because it takes so much more time to get back up and out of that trigger elevator the further we go down. And the sooner we can catch it, and if we can have that kind of phrase that you can use, which is kind to them and soothes yourself, you've already started the soothing process, and that means that you've already taken yourself out of the trigger. You brought yourself out of the amygdala, back into the logical brain, back into relationship, back into connection, and you can actually do something about it. Okay, I hope that helps. Bye.